Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you've all got nice stuff planned for the weekend. So, yeah, look, my name is Dale. I run the SackTheBoss channel, and I like to share how you can make some additional income in your spare time. But, um, what I'm going to do this, a premium account next is required to create live pass on their platform. Please upgrade to. Right, we'll remove that. That doesn't matter. Move this destination. So yeah, look, what I want to do today, something a little bit different. I've spent all week really just trying to perfect my broadcasts. I've upgraded my broadband to 900 because at the start of the week, I noticed that when they were broadcast on air, they were pixelated, but I wasn't going to stop because I said, no, look, I'm going to focus on doing this consistently and daily because there's a lot that we can do to help people. And it's all about helping folk at the end of the day. Life's tough, the world's expensive, and why not help folk if all it means is you just click live on your computer and you share some content for 20 minutes, half an hour. So, what I wanted to talk about today is I was in business networking last night, and we were all sitting at a table. So it's a fantastic business network. It's called 8BN. Colin McKean runs it. He's the man in Scotland, or probably actually UK wide if you want business networks. But it was a really good business. You had like 3 minutes, tons of egg timer. You go down the table, and you're not allowed to pitch people. So you're not allowed to talk, like you're not allowed to sell. Basically, you've got to share what you do, but without selling to the people at the table. And I started telling a little bit about my story. I even started talking about my dad and how, he had a really successful business, but he was working all the time. I didn't get to see him a lot when I was younger. And I was just trying to say, look, that's the reason I do what I do, because I wanted to build something that means I got all the time with my family and my children, because I'd been working for like 20 years selling cars, having no time with my family, no time with my kids because you were always at work. So I was just trying to share my story about what brought me to where I am. And then it kind of made me think. And again, there's this book here. You'll notice I can read. And I didn't do very well in school, by the way. I was not interested in learning when I was younger. I was interested in going out and messing about. So if you know me from back in the day, please don't tell any stories. So anyway, this book, and it's called Start With Why, by Simon Sinek. How great leaders inspire everyone to take action. And it talks about Apple and a lot of the big companies, and why what they do is they start talking about why they do what they do rather than saying what it is that they do, because what you do is boring. Really really boring. Excuse the language. Look, if you're watching me, sometimes we sweary words slip out. I don't mean it. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I am Glaswegian. And that's part of the Glaswegian way we do things. So yeah, it's about why do you do what you do? Like, why did I get up every morning, stick a three-piece suit on and a tie, and go and stand in a lovely Audi showroom every day and not have time with my family or my kids? Why did I do that? Well, I did that because I wanted money. And that's why we all go to a place of work. I think if you were asked why you go, you would say you go because you want the money it gives you. But it's not about the money, it's about getting the time, because you end up trapped having that money. So here's what I wanted to show you. When I first get involved in the business I'm involved in now, one of the first books that I read was this book. It's called Rich Dad Poor Dad, as you can see. And it's Robert Kiyosaki. Is probably one of the world's wealthiest guys, okay? Really, him and Donald Trump are like best buddies. Donald Trump's got a few quid. Irrelevant of politics, irrelevant of all that nonsense, but they're both wealthy individuals. And this Rich Dad Poor Dad book that I read, and I really recommend anyone reads it. If you're in a job and you're just thinking to yourself, is this the best life has for me? Then you need to read this book. I read it in about a day and a half. And the story is basically, he's got two dads. He's got his actual dad, who tells him to go to school, get a job, because his actual dad is like a professor or a lecturer at a uni. And he's his best mate's dad. And his best mate's dad is a business owner, entrepreneur. So he had his rich dad, his mate's dad, and he had his poor dad, which was his own dad. He loved both of them, but both of them were telling him to go and do two very different routes to try and be successful in life. One was saying, go and, do what the school tells you, go to school, get a job, work for 40 years, retire in an average pension. Another one was saying, no, go and be the best you can be. And rich dad, poor dad kind of opened my mind to the fact that it's maybe not all about just working for an employer. There's a lot of people who we do need jobs. That's absolutely fine. But as long as you understand that you have options other than just having a job and just going to work all the time. And then one of the next books that I read was this, and it's called The Cashflow Quadrant. And again, it's another book by Robert Kiyosaki. But he then now breaks down, okay, so if I don't want to always have to have a job all of my life, then what are my options? And E stands for being an employee, B is a business owner, S is self-employed, and I is an investor. And these are really the four different ways that people can earn money in their life. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to share a 10-minute video. Now, if you're in your lunch break and you can't watch, that's totally fine. Don't worry about that. Just make sure you like this or you comment replay so that you've got it in your feed and you can come back. Because I promise you, see if you watch this 10-minute video that I'm about to play, you'll kind of be looking at things and it'll put your mind clearer as to where you currently are in life when it comes to your income stream and whether you're on the right path of setting yourself up so that you're going to be a lot freer in future with more money and more free time, or whether in future you're only going to be more stressed or more skint. And if you're in an E employee, which is most people, then, and I was an employee for like 20, 25 years. I'm not having a go at being an employee. All I'm trying to suggest is if you don't get taught this stuff, then you never know it. So therefore you never think, could there be a better way of doing things? And then when I started all this, as I say, I just got into the books, started reading the books because they don't teach any of this stuff at schools. None of it. You're going out, you're leaving. There's people leaving unis with degrees and they're not getting taught this stuff. We're almost building like worker bees who are just always going to have to work. And then the big thing that concerns me is AI's coming. So AI is going to wipe out loads of jobs. So if you don't know where you are in the ESBI, it can be a bit of a nightmare. So I'm going to play it for 10 minutes and then I'll have a wee bit of chat at the end and then I'll say goodbye and love you all for your Friday. But please make sure you watch this and I promise you, it'll really get you thinking.
Did you ever hear this while growing up? Just go to school, get good grades so you can get a secure and well-paid job. I bet that 95% of you have been raised to believe that this is the road to financial success. I know that I was. And this path might be the most suitable for some people, but definitely not for everyone. In Rich Dad's Cashflow Quadrant, Robert Kiyosaki explains that there are 4 different paths to become wealthy, but some of them are more efficient than others. Takeaway number 1, the Cashflow Quadrant. The Cashflow Quadrant is a simple model that explains that wealth can come from 4 different sources. Which quadrant you belong to depends on where most of your income comes from. The 4 different quadrants are E, the employee, S, the small business owner or self-employed, B, the big business owner, and I, the investor. The employee strives for security.
You can sell this $5 spatula on Amazon and compete with hundreds of other spatula sellers.
He achieves financial success by climbing the corporate ladder. And you might find him say something like, I'm looking for a secure job with nice colleagues and great benefits. The small business owner or self-employed, on the other hand, strives for control. He achieves financial success by becoming highly specialized in a demanding field. And you might find him say something like, I'm looking for a job where I can be compensated well for my skills and time, where I am in charge. The big business owner strives for freedom. He achieves financial success by creating a profitable business system. And you might hear him say something like, I'm looking for people that are smarter than me to run my business for me. The investor also strives for freedom, but he does this through allocating money to where it has the highest expected return. You might hear him say something like, I'm looking for a place where my money can work for me in the most profitable way possible. Takeaway number 2, OPT and OPM. The number one difference between the left side of the cash flow quadrant and the right side is OPT and OPM. OPT stands for other people's time and OPM for other people's money. A person from the B quadrant uses OPT and OPM when he is designing a business system where he can hire people from the E and S quadrants while using money from people of the I quadrant. Typically, he also invests a lot of his own time to kickstart the business, but in the long run, this is not essential, and becoming a more passive owner of the business is possible. A person from the I quadrant uses OPT to generate income from his money alone, and if he's skilled enough, he can typically apply other people's money as well as his own money to scale his investment profits. Herein lies the big difference. People from the E and S quadrants never get to use OPT or OPM. Therefore, the more successful they become in their quadrants, the more money they make, but at the same time, their workload increases. Takeaway number 3, the pros and cons of the quadrants. E, the employee. Pros: reduced financial uncertainty, paid vacation, health insurance and other benefits, and colleagues. Cons: success means more work and less free time. Your performance is often higher than your salary, if you are not a slacker, that is, and colleagues, especially bosses. S, the small business owner or self-employed. Pros: you are your own boss. You're paid according to performance. Cons: success means more work and less free time. And financial uncertainty. You might lose money on this. B, the big business owner. Pros: OPT and OPM. Financial freedom can be achieved very quickly. And a greater portion of your profits goes to you. In other words, you pay less tax. Cons: financial uncertainty. You might lose money. It requires a different set of skills than what school teaches. And you'll have to manage people. I, the investor. Pros: OPT and OPM. Financial freedom can be achieved quickly. A greater portion of your profits goes to you, in other words, less tax. And it can be passive. Cons: financial uncertainty. You might lose money. Takeaway number 4, breaking the addiction, moving to the right side. So, there are pros and cons with all the quadrants, but the right side is where financial freedom can be achieved the fastest. Therefore, we might ask ourselves, how can we move to this side? Money has an addictive power, much like sex or drugs. Therefore, when you earn money through a specific quadrant, you'll be addicted to that quadrant. If you earn money as an employee for a large company, for instance, your brain will associate that type of work with a cash reward. Switching from one quadrant to another becomes more difficult because of this. Moreover, if you've been raised in a family where degrees, job security, paid vacation, and governmental pension has been highly valued, you might have a difficult transition to make. Here are some potential mental obstacles for the conversion.
You're taking too many risks. You might fail. Money can't buy happiness anyways.
As if this wasn't enough, our educational system is built so that it rewards those who make the least number of mistakes and punishes those who make the most. In the B and I quadrants, you must act in the complete opposite way. People who take action will also make the most mistakes, but in the long run, these people will learn more and achieve more as business owners and/or investors. Thomas Edison was criticized for making 1,014 mistakes before creating the electric light bulb. In response, he said, "I did not fail 1,014 times. I successfully found out what did not work 1,014 times." The transition won't be easy, but a great start is to surround yourself with people who have made the journey before and learn from those that are already successful in the B and I quadrants. Takeaway number 5, the 5 levels of investors. According to Robert Kiyosaki, there are 5 different levels of investors. Starting from the bottom, we have 1. The zero financial intelligence level. At this level, we have the people who have nothing to invest at all. Each month, their expenses are higher than their income, often because they forget to pay themselves first, which is the most fundamental strategy for wealth building taught in the classic The Richest Man in Babylon. 2. The savers are losers level. Placing hard-earned money under a mattress or in a low-interest bank account will put you in the top 50% of people financially.
There's something wrong with me.
But that doesn't mean that it's a solid personal finance plan. Why? Because of inflation. Between 1980 and 2017, the value of the Swedish crown was reduced by 69%, for instance. 3. The I'm too busy level. A lot of people are simply too busy with their careers, family, friends, and vacations to dedicate time to investing. They therefore hand over their money to someone else to do it. The problem with this approach is that such a person will never learn how to invest. 4. The I'm a professional level. This is the do-it-yourself investor. He uses his own money and takes his own decisions. He's educating himself in the subject, but hasn't evolved to the last level yet. As you are watching this channel, I expect that you already are at this level, or higher, or that your intentions are to get here. 5. The capitalist level. This is an investor who comes from the B quadrant and has learned how to use the concepts from there in his investing. For example, he is not investing alone. He has advisors that help him gather information about the markets, and in that using OPT. Furthermore, he uses OPM as well as his own money. He has also learned how to use corporations to reduce taxation levels of his capital gains. The level 5 investor is the person who will reach financial freedom first among all of the investors. What level of investor are you? Here's the recap. There are 4 different roads to financial success. You may succeed as the employee, the self-employed, the business owner, and/or the investor. The right side of the Cashflow Quadrant uses OPT and OPM. There are pros and cons with each of the quadrants, and depending on your personality and goals in life, one might be more suitable than the others. If you wish to move to the B and I quadrants, you must learn to accept risks, make mistakes, and surround yourself with others that have achieved what you wish to do. There are 5 levels of investors, and the greatest profits goes to the level 5 investor, who has learned how to implement business concepts in his investing approach. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time.
Right, I'm on. Right, so I'm unmuted. I think I'm unmuted. Yeah, that's fine. So look, all I really wanted to do there and sharing that, and I know like you're like probably, my God, why is he sharing that on Facebook? Because if you were like me when I first get in, oh no, sorry, if you were like me when I first decided that continuing to work day after day, 40, 50, 60 hours a week wasn't the future that I wanted, then I had to learn that stuff. I didn't know it. I was like 37 before I even heard of any of that stuff. So you might be in your mid-20s. You know, I've got a daughter at 19 and a son at 21. Both are attending uni because they want to go and get degrees, because degrees are still important. It teaches you that consistency, but they also understand, because I've been badgering on to them about these things, it's important to become entrepreneurial. It's important to take control, because if you just go and work for somebody all the time, then you stay in that E quadrant, and the E quadrant is where you intend to get least paid and also do the most work. Whereas when I'm trying to educate people on the utility warehouse opportunity, the UW opportunity is quadrant B, the top right, because it's a business that provides you an income stream through other people's activity and other people's money. And what I mean by that is I'm always looking for switched on, motivated people, people who can see, right, working till I'm 67 is not for me. I'd like another option. Cool. Why don't you come and work with me a couple of hours a week? Don't give up your job. Continue your job because you need to pay your bills. But we'll teach and coach you how to build a business on the side. And then by building a business on the side of your full-time job, and yeah, you're busy, you've got kids and you've got all sorts, but there's 24 hours in the day and we all have the same 24 hours. So it's when somebody says, I'm too busy, you're not too busy, you're just not focusing on the right activity. Less box sets, more learning, more entrepreneurial mindset to get you into that right-hand side of that cash flow quadrant. And like I say, with UW, because it's a B, it's a business. So you're then building an organization which is then out there helping people save money. And the more customers join the organization, the bigger the royalty passive income that you earn is. Because UW is it's a £1 billion turnover company. It's humongous. All across the UK. They just don't advertise on TV to reduce costs so that they can offer pricing at better value direct to the UK public. I often say it's sometimes like the Costco model, because Costco, only without the membership fee, Costco's cheaper. When you go direct to them, they're just getting straight off the ships for China. So, in closing, this is his final book that I've also read. And this is the book which is about the industry that I operate in. And he calls this the business of the 21st century. And that's because we had an industrial revolution back in the 1920s, 30s. We then had the internet kind of hit us in the kind of 80s, 70s and 80s when we kind of went to the internet revolution. And we're now coming into a complete technical revolution with AI and blockchain. And that's going to dramatically change all of our worlds, our working jobs. It's going to change everything. But if you haven't prepared for that and you didn't understand the cash flow quadrant and you maybe haven't looked at books like what's going to be the business of the 21st century, what's going to be future proof so that when I build an income stream, I can pass it on to my children. And that's where the business model of companies like UW come in. So at 1 o'clock, I'm going to be doing an Ask Me Anything. So if you have any questions, it's a private Zoom room. I open at 1 o'clock every day. I've only had one day where nobody showed up, which I think is pretty good considering I've only started this. I started a week today, and every day I've had people on apart from the very first day. The second day. First day I had somebody on. Second day was nothing, which is fine. I'm sitting on my other screen just working anyway. So if you do want some more information, pop into the Zoom room, SackTheBoss.co.uk/live. You can keep your camera off if you want. I'm not bothered. But only come on if you've got questions or you want to learn a bit more about how we can help you have an additional income stream around what you're doing. For example, there's loads of police officers work with Utility Warehouse. So by day, they're police. And then when they're off shift, they're helping people save on bills or they're helping people build additional income. And I bet that surprises a lot of folk that there's loads of police officers, loads of NHS staff. My God, probably get more teachers in UW than there's 80,000 partners, and it's probably police, NHS, and teachers are the majority of the people that are part of UW. So these are people who have all went on to that E, top left. They're all in the E category, realizing that it's more work, less pay, long term, and thinking, how do I diversify? They can't just quit their job because they need the income. So they then look at doing something that can fit in the nooks and crannies so that they can slowly, over maybe a 3 to 5 year period, transition from slogging their guts out for an employer to having an asset that pays them every month, whether they work or whether they don't. And that's all we're trying to help people see Sometimes it's like trying to get the blind to see. But again, I was like that at the start. When I was first showing UW and I worked in Mercedes-Benz, I told the guy to stick it where the sun don't shine, because I worked for Mercedes-Benz and I was too good for all that kind of stuff. I didn't need his daft side job. I drive a Mercedes every day. But what I didn't realise is he was way more entrepreneurial minded than I was, and he was actually trying to help me get out of being trapped, slogging my guts out. And I told him no, because I was closed-minded. But fortunately, somebody else, maybe 6 months later, I think it was, somebody else offered it to me, and I was a bit more open-minded back then. Plus, the guy offering it to me was, I was selling him a car that was £100,000. And I was like, whoa, you're buying a car that I can't even afford to buy. So I think you probably know more about money than me, and you're probably worth listening to. And I listened to this guy, and I read the booklet he gave me, and Bob's your uncle. Here I am talking mince on a Friday on social media to you. So look, pop replay in the comments if you see this. I think this probably went to some more platforms than I've been doing previously. And that's just because I've managed to get my tech a little bit better. So it's given me the confidence to broadcast to some more platforms. So if you know somebody who is looking for an additional income, whether that be an extra £100 a month or an extra £500 a month or an extra 1,000, then I'd love to just have a conversation with them. I've got a short magazine I can send them. I can send it to them digitally. My role here is to educate, not to convince. I shouldn't have to convince. If you open your mind to the fact that working in the E section is not as good as maybe being over in the B section where the video tells you all the money and the time is, that should make sense anyway. So better go and open this Zoom room, and have a lovely Friday. And I will see you on Monday, same time, 12:30. Please like and share the channel and take it easy.